What is up, maniacs? Welcome back to another Twilight Masquerade TCG guide. This time we're going to be looking at Leafeon. Is it competitive? Is it collectible? Let's find out. Leafeon is essentially the healer of a deck that it's incorporated into. So it has the Leaflet Blessings attack. It costs a single energy, and that's a colourless energy, so it could be any energy type you want. You can attach a basic grass energy card from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon. If you do that, then you can heal all the damage from that Pokemon. Its second attack, Solar Beam, actually does an okay amount of damage for a stage 1 single prize Pokemon. For 2 energy, you can do 70 damage. So if you've activated your Leafeon into the active spot and you've used Leaflet Blessing, you're going to have 1 energy on it. Next turn, you can actually attach another energy, if it survived the turn, of course, and then you can get 70 damage. So it's not too bad. It might clutch some knockouts if you've got some damaged Pokemon. So all in all, it's an okay healer with an okay amount of damage. The retreat cost of 1 is really nice because it means once you've healed, you can immediately then pivot it out if it has survived the turn, allowing you to use it multiple times. So 1 retreat cost is really good. The downside is it's 120 HP, which normally would be good, but because we've now got Greninja EX in the format, it can be bench sniped. I'm not sure though that a Greninja EX is going to want to bench snipe a Leafeon over potentially getting a knockout on an active, more important Pokemon to the deck. But if there are 2 below 120 HP Pokemon, then that is also another option for Greninja EX, which you don't want to give. So Leafeon does fail in that regard. 130 HP would have been better. Let's take a look at the basic Pokemon Eevee that is required to get into your Leafeon. So there is this really nice illustration Eevee that does exist in the new Twilight Masquerade set, and we will be creating a separate video on this. But I wanted to touch on it in this Leafeon video. We're not recommending this as the one that you should use though. Ascension is a really nice attack because it allows you to get Leafeon immediately, or any of the obviously evolutions, into play. So if you're going turn 1, second, then you can essentially get your Leafeon out immediately, but you don't want Leafeon to be in the active, so that's the point of this. You don't want Leafeon to be in the active. It's a support Pokemon. You want it to be on your bench, ready to be used when it's needed. The other downsides of this card is it's only got 50 HP, so it can be bench sniped by Dragapult and many other Pokemon. Its retreat cost is good, but let's take a look at the card that we recommend you do use for your Leafeon. This is the perfect Eevee for Leafeon. Because you want Leafeon to be on the bench. You want this Eevee to be safe on the bench. So 70 HP means you avoid getting knocked out by Dragapult. 1 retreat cost means if you unfortunately start with it in the active slot, you can attach 1 energy, retreat it out, and it's safe on the bench, ready to be evolved into Leafeon. And then Leafeon can obviously use its attack to heal up any of your bulky Pokemon. The additional plus side of this, though, if you are stuck in the active, is that you can use Colourful Friends, which is essentially a call for family, but you can look for any free Pokemon, so it doesn't have to be basics, any free Pokemon of different types, then reveal them and put them into your hand. So they don't necessarily go straight onto your bench like Call for Family, but they do go into your hand, and you potentially can get up to 3 Pokemon depending on how you structure your deck. Now I imagine in a Leafeon deck you're going to be playing mainly grass type Pokemon, potentially colourless. You might have a Bidoof on there or some other Pokemon that's going to help you draw cards. So yeah, this is a really good Eevee for a support Leafeon deck. In terms of the other Pokemon that synergise well with Leafeon, the main one you're going to want to be pairing Leafeon with is Torterra EX, because it's got so much bulk that it can make use of Leafeon's healing ability. And it also synergises well with the Forest March attack, which essentially does 30 more damage for each of your grass type Pokemon in play. So if you've got your Leafeon on the bench ready to heal Torterra, it's also powering Torterra's attack up, so they synergise really well together. The high attack cost of Torterra also means that being able to accelerate an energy onto Torterra with Leafeon's healing ability just makes this synergy that much better. So I wanted to point out Whimsicott, which is another healing support Pokemon that can be used in a Torterra EX deck. Its Wafting Heal ability, so you don't have to use it as an attack, it's an ability. When you evolve into Whimsicott, Wafting Heal can be used to remove all damage from your active grass Pokemon. So if Torterra EX is in the active spot, this can completely heal all the damage on it at the cost of discarding all of the energy. So it's a bit of the opposite of Leafeon in the fact that Leafeon accelerates energy and heals. Whimsicott heals and removes energy, so they're doing kind of polar opposite things. A plus side of Whimsicott is that it doesn't require as much setup as Leafeon to get off. Because it is an ability, it just comes into play as soon as the Whimsicott is evolved. Whereas Leafeon, there's a lot more setup. Like, you need to get Torterra out of the active and Leafeon into the active. You then need to make sure Leafeon has an energy to then be able to use its attack to heal Torterra, and then accelerate an energy onto Torterra being in your hand. So there's a lot more setup involved with Leafeon, which is why Whimsicott is probably the better option. And if I was playing Torterra EX, I would go with Whimsicott. The other plus side with Whimsicott is it's got 1 grass energy cost to do Seed Bomb, and 40 damage is pretty good for a single energy cost attack on a single prize Pokemon. And it has the same retreat cost as Leafeon, so again, the pivoting options between the two, there is no difference. So I just want you guys to bear that in mind. Although it's very close, I would say Leafeon is still a good option, so maybe it's worth experimenting between the two. I did want to do a honourable mention of Blissey, which is another healing option that you've got. And Blissey's got so much bulk for a stage 1 single prize Pokemon that it could synergise really well with Torterra. And its Zen Headbutt costs 3 energy. Torterra also has its attack that costs 3 energy. So you can use reversal energy. So again, there's some synergy with both Pokemon being able to use reversal energy. So you can use Enriching Egg to heal all the damage on one of your bench Pokemon. So you can heal your Torterra EX, while also having another bulky Pokemon in the active. Like, Blissey is taking a hit from a Charizard when you've taken a Charizard EX, I should say, when you've taken no prize cards. Like, that's crazy. That's really good. The only way it could probably get a knockout is if it used Kieran to get that additional 30 damage. But are they really going to want to use Kieran to get 1 prize from Blissey? Probably not. So Blissey is potentially surviving a turn and being able to get Zen Headbutt off as well. So you're essentially healing and doing 100 damage. So I thought I'd make an honourable mention to Blissey. There is one downside, and that is that this isn't a grass Pokemon, so it's not going to be powering up Torterra's primary attack. So just bear that in mind, but I thought it was worth mentioning. Back onto Leafeon, here are a few trainer cards that synergise well. So Switch, obviously, to get Leafeon into the active and Torterra onto the bench. So Energy Switch is a potential way of conserving your energy in hand, because you need to have at least 1 grass energy in hand to be able to heal Torterra with Leafeon. So you can switch Leafeon into the active, you can use Energy Switch to move one of the grass energies from Torterra onto Leafeon. Leafeon can then use its attack to then accelerate the energy in hand onto Torterra, and then Torterra gets fully healed. So it's a bit of a workaround, and that's probably why Whimsicott's better to use than Leafeon, but this is one option that you can use. The other option is you could play Prime Catcher, not as a way to attack your opponent, but as a way to stall them while you try to heal. So you can Prime Catch a Pokemon on your opponent's field, which is going to be difficult for them to get out of the active and is not going to be an attacking threat. Move your Torterra EX back onto the bench, Leafeon into the active. You can then heal, and the next turn, hopefully your opponent can't actually take out your Leafeon, avoiding you losing a prize. So you're kind of using Prime Catcher in more of a stall heal tactic way rather than an attack, take as many prize cards kind of way, which is usually what Prime Catcher's for. That being said, Hyper Aroma is probably your best A-Spec choice here, to be honest, because you can get your Leafeon out, but you can also get your Grottles out, which are going to eventually evolve into your Torterra EX. And Grottle obviously then accelerates being able to find those Torterra EX because they can find all grass Pokemon. So actually a better way of doing it is potentially getting free Grottle out with your Hyper Aroma and then just using Grottle's ability to get your Leafeon out. So Hyper Aroma essentially becomes a 4 stage 1 Pokemon finder. So it synergizes really well there. But again, Whimsicott would be better because you don't need to pivot like you do with Leafeon. A quick honourable mention for Jacques. So if you decide to go down the Prime Catcher route, use Jacques because you can then find your 2 evolution Pokemon. So whether that's a Grottle, well again, you can get 2 Grottles and then use Grottle to get your Leafeon. So Jacques would be a good choice if you're not using Hyper Aroma. And then a couple of grass-specific trainer cards. Bug Catching Set, always recommend this for most grass decks. Look for 2 in any combination of grass Pokemon and basic energy. So really good at finding Leafeon and the energy to power its healing attack. and Gardenia's Vigor, which is going to help you accelerate energy onto your Leafeon to be able to get its secondary attack off, and also allow you to draw 2 guards. And then in terms of energy, Jet Energy would be good here because you can completely negate the need of using switches or switch carts. You can just use Jet Energy, which powers up Leafeon's healing ability and also puts it into the active to then use that ability, or attack I should say, to heal Torterra EX. And that wraps up our Leafeon guide. Obviously we spoke a lot about Torterra EX because Torterra EX is probably the better card, or the only card really that is going to have enough bulk to make use of Leafeon's healing ability. Like we said, Whimsicott is probably your better option, but this is another choice if you wanted to mix your Torterra EX deck up a bit. We're going to rank this as a C card because there is some utility with it. So it's not a completely useless card, which it does nothing. It does have some utility. If Torterra EX wasn't around, it probably would be a D, but because that exists and this does have some utility in that deck, we're ranking it as a C. Let us know down in the comments if you agree with our Leafeon guide, and are there any other cards that you think could synergize well to make Leafeon work even better. If you're new to the channel and this is the first video you're watching, we're slowly working our way through the entire Twilight Masquerade set. So if you're interested in that content, please do follow. It really helps us out. We're on our way to 1,000 followers. And with that said, that's me shuffling out again.